Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the Unfiltered Feed. And today, as you can see already, it's time for the March game show. With me, I've got Ved. How's it going, Ved?
Yeah, it's all good, and it's good to not be involved in an intro after a while. I'm all set for this game show, and just to let everyone know, I have zero involvement in this, so it's a surprise for me as it is for all of you.
Yeah, that's the best part. I would like to apologize for the basic setup. Uh, this is because of our the limited resources that we have, so we'll have to make do with it for now. But let's get started. I think this one is going to be quite a long game show because that's how I've designed it. So, Ved, as you can see on the right hand side, there's a list of 10 numbers. So, from that, I think you can already guess that's a ranking game once again.
Yeah.
So, what do you think about ranking in general? Do you think you are good at it, or how do you find it?
Uh, I think blind ranking is a bit difficult for me than ranking with all the options in front of me, but both of them I think I enjoy them quite a lot, so I'm looking forward to it.
Yeah, I was expecting that answer. Blind ranking is very difficult, and it's going to be even more tough in this game because it's all about any guesses.
Oh, blind ranking. It is only something that I can dream of. So
Yeah,
I'm guessing
so
there's nothing else left to reveal.
so I'll be showing you some of the worst innings that Virat Kohli has ever played, and you have to rank them. I'm joking. I'll show you some of the most iconic and best, and more importantly, famous innings. He's scored so many centuries, but there are some centuries that everybody remembers, and there are a few non-century innings as well that have had a huge impact. So I've picked the best ones, and then it's your job now to rank them. And the worst part is you have to rank them
Oh.
blindly, so you don't know what's coming next. So this is a bit of a banter. I hope the viewers don't take it seriously, and then at the end of the show you'll get a chance to also correct it. So are you ready?
Yeah, I'm all set. I think the shorts are going to have a lot of traction because people in general seem to have a lot of opinions about that man.
Yeah. So let's get started right away with the first one. And actually, I have randomized it, so even I am not sure what's coming up next. So it's going to be a surprise for me. So let's get started. Okay, so these are the rules. Just for the viewers, I'll be showing weight 10 of Kohli's best and most famous innings, and then he'll have to rank them blindly from best to worst, and then with every ranking, he'll explain his reasoning. So let's get started with
That
the
goes
first one.
without saying.
Yeah. So now it's time for the first one.
Oh, okay. So Mohali 2016. This is one of his most iconic innings and one of his first proper T20 World Cup iconic knocks. Uh, this has a very special place in my heart because this was a virtual quarterfinal
Yeah.
and nobody else stepped up throughout the entire tournament, but in this game specifically. Uh,
I think the key trick for you is to know that it's me who has picked the innings, so you should kind of estimate what you can expect in the next few rounds.
yeah, I think I'll go with number 3.
That's a fair call. I think I would have done that as well.
Yeah. Generally, my strategy is to start at the center but I know that this innings is one of his best,
Yeah.
so I can't really put him at 5, so I'm going at 3.
Let's see if you regret this. Let's move to the next one. Okay. Time for innings number 2.
Okay, uh, it was a good knock. I think this is known for his crazy acceleration, where he, I think, jumped from 50 to 100 in about 12 or 13 balls.
Yeah.
Uh, but the amount of such knocks he has played, I think this one, I'll put it at number 9.
Oh, there you go. So you're banking on the fact that there can't be 2 innings that are going to be more worse. Sorry.
Yeah, I've just given it a buffer of one place below it. It was a good knock, but I think it wasn't the best knock of that very innings itself.
Yeah.
Because AB de Villiers obviously played a better knock. So
Correct.
yeah,
Plus, I think it wasn't as impactful because they already had another centurion. So it was a good knock, but I'm sure even he won't rank it as high as his other innings.
yeah. I think there's a difference between being memorable and impactful. This one is more towards the memorable one.
Yeah. Okay. We are getting through this pretty quickly. I was expecting some more discussion, but I think it will come with the next rounds. So, okay. So now you've had a good start, 2 extremes. So you have a lot of space available. So now time for innings number 3.
This is, I believe, the fastest ODI 100
Yeah.
innings.
For India.
Yeah. Uh, this was quite an iconic knock because India in that series, that was kind of the first coming of that famous top 3, Rohit, Shikhar, Virat,
Yeah.
and they chased 350 without much fuss in this game. Uh, it is a very special knock, but I would have to factor in that it was a flat pitch and he had the support of the other two. Uh, I think I would put this at number 7.
Supanadakli. So number
I'm
7.
thinking between 6 and 7, but I'll go with 7.
Number 7. Wow. I think this innings was where or such innings is where Kohli could show his real skill because the pitches were so good and the team was in a great situation. So he didn't really have to play carefully. He could just play freely and show his wide range of shots. Which is why innings
Yeah.
like this and also his IPL hundreds are quite iconic because he can just be himself and not really worry much.
Yeah, and I think people tend to think that when he plays innings like these, the fact that he makes it look so easy, people don't realize that it actually isn't easy for everyone else, and it's just that he
Yeah.
makes it look easy. Because of that, he does himself a bit of harm, but I think number 7 is fair enough.
Yep. So I think as we go through these innings, you'll also see the range. I think this is the earliest knock in this list, but it's the range of his hundreds and his iconic hundreds is so big that itself shows you how good of a player he is. So now let's move to innings number 4, and now it's going to start getting tough for you. So let's see.
Oh. Ah. So this is the first test knock in this list, and this was his first game as a full-time skipper. In many ways, a kind of turning of page in Indian Test cricket.
Yeah.
The fact that he pushed the team to go for a win, and he himself led the way, not just by speaking but actually doing it on the field.
And now let's see how much you really know. Was this from the first innings or the second innings? This particular knock.
I'm pretty sure this is the first innings. He scored 123 in the second innings.
Wow. Okay.
Uh, Second innings still hurts more, but I think this was a very important innings in his and India's point of view both.
Yeah.
So even he would rate it pretty high, I'm sure.
Exactly.
And I would rate it at number 6.
Oh, I thought this would be in the top 5 at least. But I think you're starting to see where this is going and what is coming. So I can understand what you're doing.
I feel that it was a very special knock, but again the conditions were pretty placid, and though it didn't have much support in the second innings, in the first innings Ajinkya Rahane too stepped up with him, so
Yeah.
that is why I'm putting it at 6.
Great. Already 3 from versus Australia. So it shows that he loves
Big match
batting against
play.
them. Yeah. So time for number 5. And it is this was the comeback 100 against Afghanistan in the Asia Cup in 2022.
This innings, impact wise, it's of no use because it was a dead rubber. But I think many would agree that in many ways this was the most important innings in his second coming, because he was pretty open about the fact that this Asia Cup could have also been the last time he played international cricket if things didn't go well. He was fully ready to accept that he is done and was ready to also retire. And then he came out with that kind of mindset into the Asia Cup, and I think he slowly started getting runs. In the first game he scored about 30, then had a 50 versus Hong Kong, then a 50 versus Pakistan, and then finally this 100, which was also his first 100 in 3 years. So very special innings for him. I don't think after I've given number 6 and number 7 to those two, I can put this any higher than that though, because of the entire context. So I'll give it number 8.
Oh, wow.
Very tough choice.
I was expecting this to go in number 10, but now number 8 is
Yeah.
huge. I think the funny part about this 100 was that nobody expected it. I'm sure not even him, because there were moments before the Asia Cup where there were genuine chances where he was going to score centuries. I remember that MCG test where he got run out, and there were a couple of matches where he got out in the 80s or 90s, and then
Yeah, that
Uh,
one innings in Cape Town, I do remember.
yeah.
He scored 79. Oh.
And I still remember your message. I was attending classes and I saw I think you sent me 5 or 6 messages where you were like, Kohli
Yeah.
finally century after 3 years. Unbelievable.
I still remember that day. I think it was 9th September. मुझे अभी भी याद है. 9th September 2022, and I think the entire world was erupting at that stage, not because of Kohli's 100 but because the Queen died.
Oh, yeah,
And
passed away. Yeah.
so yeah, so there were two separate waves, and at one stage I think this news surpassed that, and I do remember that happening.
Yeah, exactly. So now we have done 5. What do you think about your rankings so far? You've bottom loaded your rankings, so are you expecting some good innings up next?
Yeah, I think the fact that you mentioned there are a few non-100 innings as well there uh, makes me believe that a few good ones are still on the table. though one innings I will have to put it below the Gujarat 100, which I'm seeing chances of that happening are very few now, but I'll have to make that call.
Yeah. So now it's either the worst of the top 10 or it's going to be top 5. So it's going to be very tricky for you. So let's see what's up next. It's innings number 6 now. And it's time for
Oh,
ICC Cricket World Cup semi-final. And this is where he matched or surpassed actually Sachin Tendulkar's record of 49 ODI hundreds.
yeah, so this is both iconic and impactful because, of course, it came in a World Cup semi final. He had support from almost everyone else, but that was kind of his role to steer the ship in the middle overs, and that is what he did time and again. It was probably one of the best ODI World Cup campaigns for a batter. Uh, so I think this does deserve to go up in the list. I'll give it number 5.
Okay.
I'm really banking on your choices for the next 3.
I think
Again,
for
I
the
think
most part,
quality wise he has played better knocks, but it
yeah.
was a memorable one.
Yeah, and I think Virat Kohli before the semi-final or before this World Cup had a reputation of not really delivering much in knockouts, especially ODI World Cup knockouts. But this century kind of proved that he still had the hunger and the game to do it.
Yeah, and I think in this very World Cup I would rate the South Africa 100 a bit higher considering the conditions, and it was an absolute difficult pitch to bat on, and the way he batted there. So this will be the second best 100 of that tournament. Not his second best knock either, but second best 100.
I actually disagree because I think when we were playing South Africa, we had already won a lot of games, so we could afford a loss. But this match, you never know if Kohli had gotten out early and if we had lost another wicket, like the final, you never know what would have happened because New Zealand also were looking quite comfortable chasing. So it was kind of good that we had a very high total. Otherwise, they could have chased it down as well. So I think this 100 was more important because it was a semi-final.
Yeah. Yeah,
Plus, we had lost.
importance-wise,
Yeah,
definitely.
we had lost to them in 2019, so there was a bit of worry from our fans. So this kind of shut that down.
Yeah, I think importance wise, of course, a 100 in a semi final is always more important. But purely looking at it from the perspective of quality, I think
Yeah,
I would rate the South Africa one a bit higher.
yeah, makes
And
sense.
then, just to continue, now that you have brought this up, the 85 against Australia in the very first game was also a top quality innings, and the 95 against New Zealand in the group stage too, while chasing, because I think that was the only game where India faced a potential threat of a loss at any stage,
Yeah,
and a little bit in the England game, but I think at versus New Zealand at one stage they were far down and they still needed 80 to win, and then Kohli along with Jadeja guided them home. So I think those two knocks were also quite underrated.
yeah, fair enough. But we can obviously only have 10. I think with Kohli, this list could have been maybe 25 or 30. But
And still I would
alright.
be thinking where to place which.
Yeah. Great. So now let's move to the last 4. And now it's going to get very tricky. And as you see, our explanations have started becoming more. So
Yeah.
we'll talk more. So let's go to number 7 now.
I have a nasty feeling that I've messed this up now. So 254 is highest test score, and nothing quite remarkable about this innings. He just went about on a pretty flat track in front of a depleted or tired South African attack. Uh, Definitely not something that I would put in top 4. So it will go down at number 10.
Oh, wow. Yeah, I think you would have maybe put it somewhere in number 8 or 9 or maybe 7. But I think because that's blocked, you're
Yeah.
forced to do it in number 10. But I think such long innings, even if the conditions are easy, it still requires a lot of, you know, attention, focus, and a lot of hunger
Yeah.
because eventually, if you're scoring 100 or a 150, you start taking it lightly because you have achieved that goal. But to keep going for so long, I think you have to kind of commend that.
Yeah. And I think this was his last double hundred in Test cricket. He got close in 2023 versus Australia where he scored 186, but eventually couldn't. And I also remember a lot of discourse about him not going for his triple hundred because he clearly had a lot of time. And I think it was just day 3 when India declared and they won by an innings the next day. So he had time, but he decided to kind of wrap up the game a bit earlier.
Yeah, and I think this was also his highest test score, so quite an iconic innings. But in
Yeah.
this list, it goes to number 10. And now I think you have put yourself in a bit of a trouble, but we'll see what happens now. Not much, but only one, I think. And I think that would go in number 4, so let's see. So now I hope I've
Mm.
arranged them in the right order, otherwise, I might just make it easy for you. So let's see, number 8.
It's all over. Oh. So this 100, it was in a must-win game. I will have to say that, but
Yeah.
it didn't matter much because though they won this, they still didn't qualify as they lost the next game. Uh,
In which he also scored
uh,
100, by the way.
yeah, such is his class. I think in this game they were chasing 190-ish, and Classe scored 100 in the first innings.
Yeah.
And this was the first ever game where you had hundreds from both teams in the same game. It had never happened before in IPL history. And then you had it happen again when Kohli and Gill scored in
Gill.
the same game as well.
Yeah.
I think this 100 was one of his most flawless knocks, and it kind of showed that he was in great form and rhythm. But now I'm in a lot of trouble. I'll have to put it at number 4.
Yeah. I think
He
this
has, I think,
century.
8 IPL hundreds, and this
Yeah.
will be definitely uh, in the bottom 4, at least in those 8. But somehow it has made to the top 4 all-time knocks of Virat Kohli.
I think this 100 was important because it came after 4 years. So I think this was similar to the Afghanistan 100, where people were starting to question whether Kohli was playing slower than required or was he taking too much time. I think Harsha Bhogle was talking about his strike rates. So this 100 basically was a response to those kind of comments because while chasing 190, I think
Yeah.
Faf and Kohli had a 170 opening stand. So both of them basically just killed the game.
Yeah, I remember Harsha Bhogle and his discourse saying, "These balls don't come back." uh, I think he's completely stopped saying that in the recent past, ever since his main target has left the field.
Some big comments. We'll maybe do a hot takes episode someday where you can elaborate on this. But for now, let's go to the top 2.
Oh no.
And you have only 2 more left. So now let's see where you place. So it's basically 1 or 2. Let's go with number 9 now.
And finally. So I don't think I can afford to take another risk here. This was one of his best, and considering the opposition, the situation, though he had a part in putting the team in that position, but to kind of bail them out himself when again he had practically no support. Hardik Pandya did do something, but he was absolutely not able to time it towards the end. So
Yeah,
it all kind of came down to him, and he took down the best bowler of that game and someone who
exactly.
hadn't been hit for a six in that stadium in over 100 overs before that. So Haris Rauf, and he was bowling really well in that game. He got Rohit Sharma and Surya Kumar Yadav out. Uh,
Yeah.
I think I'll put this at number one for sure.
Oh, that's a big call because you don't know
Yeah,
what's coming after this.
that is exactly why I've done it, because I've fallen prey to this earlier. I think I still sometimes find it hard to believe that India chased down 45-18 in that game. Rather 48 in 18, which is just,
Yeah,
even in today's high scoring standards, I think England needed 45-18 in that semi final recently versus India, and this still fell well short. And Kohli did that 4 years ago in probably the hardest T20 conditions against one of the best bowling attacks. Though Mohammad Nawaz was absolutely poor, and a lot of Pakistan's mistakes also resulted in that, but still 48 in 18 is unbelievable.
yeah, exactly. Plus, like you said, he had not played his best, you know, up until that part. So that pressure must have also been on him, where it was up to him. So it was basically him versus the entire world at that point, and he came out on top, which is incredible.
And he did go on to say it publicly afterwards that at the halfway mark in that innings, when he had just ran Akshar out, he was kind of already he had lost all hopes, and he was batting on 15 of 24, if I'm not wrong, at one stage. And he said he was kind of ready for all the abuses and to just leave cricket. He had already seen himself fall prey to the famous Indian trolls in some way, but he
Yeah,
kind of turned it around and scored. In the next 28 balls, he scored around 70 runs, which is unbelievable.
yeah, exactly. So I think it deserves number one. But now let's see which is the next and the final innings on this list. It's time for the last one, and it is
Oh, well, I'm the most satisfied with this at number two. This is one of my favorite Kohli hundreds. I, I won't say it's his best, but I'm a big fan of this knock. Again, because of all the context behind it. This
yeah,
was the
exactly.
very first innings in that series, and he was coming. He had returned to England after that horrendous series of 2014, and there were a lot of eyeballs on him and added pressure. He did add a lot of pressure on himself, because in the ODI series just before that, in the third ODI, he ran Joe Root out and did the famous mic drop celebration, because Joe Root celebrated with a bad drop after winning the second ODI, so he kind of gave it back. So he kind of had the entire English crowd against him, and he walked into a huge round of boos when he came out there. And I think in the same innings as well, again he was the lone man who kind of rescued India. I'm pretty sure he batted a lot with the tail in this innings. He was batting on 60 when India was 7 down and were trailing by about 120, and he single-handedly got the trail to around 20 or 15, and he
Wow.
batted with Ishant Sharma, Umesh Yadav and Mohammad Shami. So I think it was a very important innings for him, not just in the context of his career but also in the game. So number 2 is very apt for it.
Yeah, I agree. I remember watching this live, and it was back in 2018, but there was a lot of chatter again from experts where they were hyping this series up because Kohli was going back against Anderson after that horrific
Yeah.
2014 and the first time as a captain. So there was a lot of hope riding on him, and he didn't disappoint at all. I think he scored maybe 2 or 3 more hundreds after this in the same series. So very
Yeah,
successful.
I remember he scored 400 runs in the first 4 innings, and those were also like 149 here in the first innings, 51 in the second innings to make it 200, and maybe not the second, but in the third test match, which India won at Trent Bridge, he again scored 103 and 97, which is exactly 200 again. I do
Yeah.
remember that, and India won that test. So I think India lost the series 4-1, but on paper it was 4-1 on paper, but in reality it was a very closely contested series.
Yeah, absolutely. So with that, we have come to the end of this particular game show. So now it's your turn to make a few corrections, and I'm sure you want to make a lot. But how much do you agree with your own list? And if now, having known all the innings, how would you rank them again?
Yeah, I think the top three are still, I got them correct at the end. I would say I started messing up by underestimating a few knocks. So I would, if I had the chance, I would put the 100 versus SRH to number 9 and the 100 versus Gujarat to number 10. And then maybe bump up the Adelaide 100 to number 4 and the double 100 versus South Africa to number 7 and the 100 versus Australia to number 6.
Yeah. Yeah, it makes sense. So you're clearly not valuing IPL as much, which I think even he would do the same because IPL at the end is just entertainment. It doesn't really matter who wins or loses.
Yeah, and I think he has a few good knocks in IPL, but these two certainly aren't those.
Yeah, so with that, the second question I had is out of I mean, leaving aside these 10, what are some of your favorite Kohli innings? Not necessarily his best or his most iconic, but your favorite innings of his.
Mm. So, uh, one of my favorite is of course the Hobart 2012, the CB series, where
Hmm.
he smashed Lasith Malinga. Though I didn't watch it live, but whenever I've watched highlights and full inning replays, I've always been stunned by the way he batted. And I think 2 weeks after that, he scored 183 in Mirpur versus Pakistan. So that
Yeah.
was kind of his first little peak in international cricket. Uh, and then I would also say the 2016 to 17 home season, though it is very underrated because it's at home, but he had a lot of good knocks there versus England.
Yeah.
A double hundred at Wankhede was quite good, and of course in 2018, which was the toughest year to bat in Test cricket, he scored 100 in Edgbaston, which we ranked here, but also 100 in Perth and 100 in South Africa. So three away hundreds in a single season is unbelievable. And I think in recent past, I would also like to add his uh,
The T20 World Cup final knock, maybe.
I was a bit on the edge in terms of that. Though they lost 3 early wickets and then he played according to the team's requirement, but Not quite for me. I would say in 2023 end he played a couple of great knocks in South Africa in Test cricket, which were quite good. So, and of course the 79 versus South Africa in 2021 was quite
Yeah.
special. So, quite a few knocks, but more or less these ones. And one more I would like to add is the 94 not out versus Hyderabad versus West Indies in Hyderabad 2019
Yeah,
when he smashed
correct.
Kesrick Williams.
Yeah.
Though the bowling attack wasn't of the highest quality, but that knock had a lot of peak Kohli swag, so I would rate that pretty high.
Yeah, that knock basically symbolized a typical player series where the first match isn't that good, they're not finding their form. In the second match, they start timing it well, but still not good. And then in the third match, they slowly start finding the rhythm. And then in the fourth match, they score 100. Kohli did all of that in just one innings, where in the first 10 balls, he was struggling, and then so on. And at the end, he was scoring sixes for fun. I think another knock that I really loved was the 2017 knock against England in Pune, which was his first
Mm.
innings as a full-time ODI captain, and that was also a very important knock because it kind of laid the foundation for his captaincy era, and it proved, I think, everybody that his batting won't be affected because of being the captain. He had already done that in Test cricket, but he confirmed that in ODI cricket as well.
Yeah, those two, and now I would also like to add three more innings. A couple from I think Pakistan in 2016, where he scored. He constantly bailed India out. First in the Asia Cup, where India
Yeah.
were chasing around 90, if I'm not wrong, and they were 5 for 3, and Mohammad Amir was breathing fire, and then Kohli scored 49 and helped India win. And a similar story repeated in the T20 World Cup on a very tough track. I think the game was a 17 over game, and Pakistan scored around 120ish, and again India lost Rohit Dhawan Raina early, and I
I
think
think
they were
Yuvraj
around
Singh as
25,
well.
yeah, 30 for 3, and then Kohli again bailed them out.
Yeah,
And so those two and the World Cup semi-final in 2016 versus West Indies, his knock was probably one of his best. He
yeah.
batted unbelievably well. He got a bit of luck at the start, but then some of those shots, whenever I see it again, I'm absolutely blown away. So that knock as well, and one final innings, which I'm sure many won't know or don't rate that highly, is his 100 versus South Africa in 2015 in Chennai, in the one day series. I think that was probably the one and only time where his place in the 11 was under a bit of scanner. And
Oh,
in the previous ODI, they had tried Rahane at 3 and pushed Kohli to number 4. And then Rahane ran Kohli out in that game. So he was a bit angry. And Rahane had scored a 50. But then he kind of pleaded to the management to give him one more opportunity at 3. And Dhoni, being Dhoni, he did agree because he always backed Kohli a lot. And then he came out and played that 100 in Chennai when the ball was turning a lot.
hmm.
So that is kind of uh, quite early in his career, but a defining moment in his ODI career. And after that, I don't think he's ever been under the kind of pressure of being kicked out or removed from the 11 itself. And he's never
Yeah.
kind of fallen down to that level. So that was a special knock.
I think that knock was also more special because, if I'm not wrong, that the conditions during that match were horrible. I think I heard this from a South African cricketer who was playing that match, where even though they were fielding, it was almost impossible for them. It was so hot and humid, and then they were seeing Virat Kohli just run twos for fun, and that's when those players realized that this guy was special and that he was, some a touch, or let's say a different class altogether.
Yeah. And that is when he had kind of started his fitness revolution as well, and he had lost a lot of fat from his 2012 days, so he was pretty fit. And that iconic bicep celebration after the 100 was also kind of symbolized his return. And after that they did eventually go on to drop Rahane, and then he secured his place with that knock.
Yeah, great. So with that, I think we've come to an end of this game show. I think this can be a series where we can start ranking the best innings from other cricketers. Sometimes I could be the one ranking. So
Yeah.
let's see. To the viewers, if you want to see more such videos about ranking innings, you should probably let us know in the comments who should we cover next, because it will be quite fun to do this.
Yeah, I really enjoyed this, and when the topic is of my interest, it's very hard to stop myself from talking.
फ्लो में निकल जाता है. Yeah, so we managed to speak for 40 minutes, which is exactly what I was expecting. While planning the format, I had assumed 4 minutes per innings, but I think we spoke a lot after the 10 innings, which is quite
Yeah,
good.
at one stage, it didn't look like we would get past even 20 minutes, but then eventually it got tougher.
Yeah. So, what are your last thoughts before we call it a day?
Yeah, I hope before he retires, gives us at least 3 more knocks worth putting in his all-time catalogue. Now that he plays just one format, he plays the IPL, but definitely I'm expecting a few good knocks in ODIs from him, and maybe a World Cup as well to leave.
Yeah. So we'll leave for now, but a lot of content coming up. As IPL was nearing and as we were going to watch Kohli again, I thought of recollecting some of his best innings. So I hope all of you enjoyed today's game show. We'll be back with the game show next month, but before that, a lot of content coming your way.
Yes. So until next time, this is a goodbye from us.
Bye.